minutes. Now he came in after lunch and said 10 minutes. So,
Blame it on lunch.
so anyway, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction about IoT security. I'm not going to plug my company or the IoT platform. Okay, just give you a brief introduction. Usually when I go talk to other people, I'm talking to them about why security is important for your product. Okay, that's what I'm doing nowadays. But you guys are well versed in security, you know probably some of these things much better than anybody out there. So anyway, when I got my doctorate in distributed systems from SMU, I got my PhD from there. I was studying distributed systems. My thesis was in that, and security was the main part. So when I taught at SMU the graduate level courses to students who are doing their masters and doctorate, security was one of the main parts of it in distributed operating systems and distributed systems. And then I worked as a research scientist at Alcatel for about 10 years. And some of the projects we had were about security on software security, software application security and things like that. And then I worked at a company, a kind of a startup company with like 20 employees, which was acquired by a bigger cloud-based company. And I was the R&D manager for their firewall security. They were doing managed security. So I was a R&D manager there. Now we have this IoT platform, a company which I'm not going to plug in there. So so it's going to be a very brief overview of what the Internet of Things security is going to be. Let's go to the next slide. So, I mean, every one of you must know this. Devices are being connected to the Internet. They've been talking about all devices being connected. Billions and billions of devices will be connected to the Internet. Machine-to-machine communications are already big out there. If I go to the next slide, here, this is one of the industry projections, and you see by 2020, they say 50 billion devices will be connected on the Internet. Compared to that, we are only like 7 billion people, right? So there'll be 100 times more probably devices than they are. Here, based on my experience, what I've noticed was that it hasn't taken off as expected. Okay, that's what everybody's saying also. I go to a lot of these Internet of Things conferences, and they've been saying the same thing. But remember, in the early 90s, when I was a graduate student, this programming language called Java came about. You know, at that time, we were getting the first drafts of Java. There was so much hype about Java. You know, people were talking about this is going to take over the world, and we were all worried that, oh, maybe we won't have C and C++ anymore, kind of thing. Like, you know, it was really crazy at that time. But Java hasn't taken off as much as the hype said at that time. But you still see Java around, right? Pervasive. I mean, all our platform is built on Java, JavaScript, and all that stuff. So even if the projections, my point is, even if the projection is not, it doesn't live up to that projection, it's still going to be huge. That's my point there.
So, what do you mean it's not growing at the rate it's supposed to grow? Because everything these days is IoT built in.
Right, but I don't know whether we're going to hit that 50 billion mark according to this one. I sincerely don't know.
Every product that's coming out has an RF.
No, hey, you know, I'll be the happiest person if they meet and exceed the expectations. All I'm saying is what I'm hearing from like, you know this, I mean, all these devices kind of like, you know, are being connected. Some of them I get to, some people ask me like, why does your lawnmower be an Internet of Things device, you know? Lawnmowers maintenance is a very hard thing. If any one of you had a lawnmower, you would know. What if it was a machine-to-machine communication and it tells you that something's wrong with it?
Yeah.
Right, what the problem is. So But there is a reluctance. Did you see? I mean, a lot of people don't want all this to be connected to the internet. There are people, none of my devices at home are connected to the internet. Well, okay, but you're probably missing out some on that. But anyway, I mean, there are some people who are resistant to technology. So with all these connections and all that stuff, as you guys know, there will be a lot of security issues, like when people hacking into your system. Now, this you must have heard in October 2016. I mean, how many of you know this? I mean, how many of you don't know this actually?
No,
So-
I didn't know it.
You
I
did
do
not-
now.
You did not know this?
I did not know.
So what happened was that there was this surveillance cameras that were sold by this company, which I'm not trying to pronounce.
Show my.
So they were all over, and what they did was basically they left the default password and login and password on it. How many people leave their default? A lot of people leave their Wi-Fi routers default, admin password. So they had that, and so there was this well-known exploit, Mirai, that you could actually download the code. And what they did was the surveillance cameras, they changed the code in it so that they attacked the DIN server, which is a DNS server. It's a name server at a particular time. And that time was October 21st, 2016. And when that attacked, it was a distributed DNS attack and denial of service attack. And the name server went down. So when it went down,
Did they engage in DNS poisoning, what they call it?
no, it's a denial of service attack.
So he just did not.
So when customers wanted to go to Netflix and watch a movie, they couldn't find the Netflix server because it wasn't telling them what IP was.
They
Because
could still find the bill and how much I owed them, though. That's the problem. That didn't
So-
go away.
So you don't miss it. So you hack a camera to bring down a DNS server instead of watching someone?
no, but that
Just giving an example.
point well taken. I'm just giving you an example, but it did happen actually. This happened for half a day or a day in the northwest, northeast. People were not able to go to very popular sites like Facebook and things like that.
Was this
We were not there, so that's why we don't know.
Was this attack leveled on the IPv4 spectrum or on the IPv6?
IPv4, as far as I know.
Okay.
But even if it's 6, it's basically attacking the DNS server. So if it doesn't get the domain configuration, where to go and what to do, it's a problem, right?
Well, V4 is embedded within V6.
So
Most of the DNS.
this is freshly off the press, still hot. This month there was a bipartisan bill introduced, especially for the IoT, Internet of Things. And so if you are selling any Internet of Things, any equipment connected to the Internet to the government, it has to conform to the standards. And now I'm not going to go too much into the NIST and all. They are coming up with their standards. So if you want, your company is selling any equipment, they have to have all these conformance for IoT also in place. Okay. I had a couple of other points here.
So does that bill address the default password issue and require you to?
That is only one thing. That was actually supposed to be, so, I mean, for example, when I was working for Texas Instruments, we had this mobile platform. We as for the mobile platform, we would leave a lot of this convenient stuff so that we can get into the system. For example, on Android phones, if you press the build number 7 times, you go into the developer mode. Did you know that?
Right.
So things like that. We used to leave things like that. But when you have actually in production, when this is deployed, your product is deployed, you should close all those things, close all the open ports, close all. We don't do that because the customer is not asking for it. So when they don't ask, why bother, right?
A lot of them may not be technically adept enough to know how to do it either.
Yeah, but one of the things that we do also is give a conformance. We go through the checklist right from the device level to the cloud level. Go through all the checklists, see whether your bootloader is secure, whether you have any ports open that are not supposed to be open, and things like that. Checklist, basic checklist, right? If you're going on a vacation, you go around your house and see, are my windows closed? Is my door locked? And things like that. It's just a checklist. But they're not doing that before they deploy. And that's the problem. I have a couple of other points here. I'm rushing you there.
No. Dave,
No, you don't need to look at
Go
Dave.
there.
He's going like,
I'm doing the whole thing. He's used to doing this.
So the public demand is don't listen to him.
Right, yeah, come on.
Ask Satish.
Satish, we want the poison to be injected slowly. It will be lethal.
so when all your devices, appliances, and stuff like that are connected to the internet, you're going to have a lot more security holes, basically. One of the things, one simple issue is, rather than like on your desktops and things like that, where you update your software regularly, or else something like the Crybaby and the other ransomware, I'll come back to that point. But these IoT, Internet of Things devices will stay in the field for years. For example, you have your surveillance camera and it has software and all. How do you want to go check every time whether there's an update and stuff like that, and to see that the software is updated, some patch that closes a previously vulnerable hole? You can't do that. So you definitely need some way, some mechanism, some platform that does that for you. Now, what happened in case of that ransomware? There were 2 ransomware attacks recently, just in this last couple of months, that Crybaby and the other one. One was just that they had to patch, Microsoft released a patch in March that was supposed to have been updated. And the attack happened in June. So you went by 3 months without knowing that a security update was done and you needed to patch it. How stupid is that? So you need actually a platform.
It's actually below average. You're usually susceptible for many more months than that. You get attacked.
Not that
find it
particular
11
one.
months later.
That particular one was in March. March was the patch released, and then they used that. The patch that fixed the vulnerability was the vulnerability that was used to attack in June.
Right.
So that technically should not happen. In fact, I got a call from this company from Boston. They were in a panic mode because they had like 700 servers. All of them went down. Now this particular ransomware was, don't want to mention them. They were created by Russians for attacking only the Ukrainian servers, but they have seeped out of the country. They were supposed to only attack Ukrainian, but we did that too. US had this virus for Iraq only to attack the Iraq servers, and that also slipped out sometime ago. We were not told about it, but so these can actually, the intended, somebody else gets what collateral damage kind of, right? So anyway,
Cyber warfare.
so my point here is that when all your Internet of Things devices are connected, you might have like a few hundred devices in your home itself that are connected to the internet, and you need a platform actually to give you a certain amount of confidence that you're not being taken for a ride. So at some other case, some of these points on IoT security, this next 2 slides are generally for people who don't know anything about security actually. Attack is easier than a defense because we as engineers build software and hardware for features and usefulness. We are not thinking about the security aspect of it, how it can be misused, right? A hammer can be misused. So, but you might be doing a million things to make it more feature rich, while all you need, a hacker needs, is one vulnerability to attack your system. Complexity is an enemy when we, as I said, when we are adding new features and things like that. The more complex it is, the harder
More holes there are.
yeah, more easier to find holes in it. And then, as I said, hackers don't stick to use cases. We want to see use cases when we build our system, and they don't want to stick to that.
Yeah, they don't tend to follow laws either. I don't know why.
So another thing with something like an Internet of Things platform is that I'll show you the architecture in a couple of slides, but it is so wide. I mean, it incorporates so many technologies. It goes from the device level with the board and the bootloader and things like that, right up to the cloud and then back. So there's so many places that it can be compromised. So all a hacker needs to do to compromise the system is to find one thing, just one thing. Maybe it was that ransomware, for example, that he compromised a suppliers or another company who supplies software, the system admin's password, and that's how they got into the whole thing. So that guy provided the software, and then the software went into the other servers and stuff like that, and then replicated itself. So all you need is some small entrance into the system, and then the whole system is compromised. And then abstraction in black box systems can cause holes. What I mean there is that there is this tendency for embedded systems where you buy black boxes like this IP they call it, and then they drop it. So let's say you're building a medical device, and that medical device needs Bluetooth connection. So
Needs what connection?
Bluetooth.
Oh, Bluetooth. Okay.
Yeah, Bluetooth connection. And then you say, well, our expertise is in all, whatever this medical stuff and all, we're doing all that. Bluetooth is not our expertise. So you just go and buy that technology, and then you drop it in as a black box. So what does it do? It provides the Bluetooth connection. But you haven't gone through all the security processes. You might have done a lot of stuff. You might have spent like 30-40% of your development on security internally, which is what they should do anyway. But they just dropped the Bluetooth into it without checking all the same thing. So that could be a vulnerability right there. So that type of, that's what I meant, abstraction and black box system causes vulnerabilities. Okay. And then, of course, this one, they share their code, they love their exploits, and what was my next point here? Internet thing. So basically, this code sharing, they evolve and all that stuff, just like a virus that goes around and morphing itself, becoming stronger and stronger. The code, same attacks that code that was there for a few years, and people think that it is all patched up. Somebody comes up with a nicer exploit and puts it on. Now,
The Internet of Insecure Things.
yeah, that's what some people have been saying. So the third point is that these attacks can be very deadly, really, for Internet of Things. Now think about a pacemaker kind of application, like someone's pacemaker, and a regular use case is that pacemaker is sending out data and goes through a gateway, and then it goes into the cloud, and the doctor's nurse actually gets the reading, and then they do some analysis of it, and then see, okay, there is a little bit of arrhythmic beat, and so hey, and then they call you, Bob, you need to come down there today. Doctor will have a look at your stuff and something like that. That's a regular use case, right? Now, sometimes also these have a feedback loop where when the beat is gone, the system can send a small pulse of electricity. I'm not too, and then it starts up the heart a little bit, and then maybe it starts up. So adjusts it, right?
So that could happen before an EMT team arrives then too, perhaps, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, maybe, I don't know too much about the heart conditions, but if a small shock can actually get it started again, like, so.
Pacemaker.
Yeah, the pacemaker.
Yeah, the pacemaker, that's what it's supposed to do. But now that feedback can be misused by someone if he hacks into the system. And guy sitting in Ukraine, and then he's Ukraine and is on his laptop, on his bed, and then he's causing the patient to die basically, and which is a criminal act. But who is going to bring that person to justice, right? So anyway, Internet of Things can be, especially in the healthcare and things like that. People have hacked into cars, and they can make your car go crazy while you're on this, especially if you're this all computers, like 7-8 computers on your car. So don't want to go through all the cases, but I mean, just things that comes to my mind. But then the regular things also, like, if the device is not functional, let's say it's a microwave or your refrigerator, just shut it down. Now, it's not going to be a huge loss. A few $100s worth of your groceries and stuff like that in your refrigerator might be wasted because they shut it off. That kind of mischief, or your sprinkler systems or something like that, which goes off at odd times and drives you crazy. There's so many things, right? But security for Internet of Things is an important factor,
Mm-hmm.
So mentioned some of these low-end software or hardware components you're just throwing in, like, because the Bluetooth, the guy says, well, you're bidding 7 cents against 5 cents. Somebody comes at 5 cents, at 7 cents. But the guy 7 cents is better, but you want to go with the 5 cents because you're trying to.
Cheaper.
So that kind of stuff. Install and forget type of attitudes, because I mean, some of the surveillance cameras, I mean, how many years has it been that you maintain your refrigerator, for example? You haven't, right? I mean, mine's been sitting there for years.
Don't touch it until it leaks, and then,
Right,
then you
exactly.
fix it, right?
So that kind of attitude, so there should be a proactive approach from the manufacturers themselves to secure those and maintain them. And some of these people don't even have a security team in the development. There's no security, it's an afterthought. Customers are not asking them, so why spend that much money on it? Just make it cheaper, kind of thing. So, but I've heard that the industry spends about 30-40% on security, on cyber security. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's why it's like $6 billion industry or something like that, the security industry.
The third bullet you have up there, non-existent security team in development phase, isn't that slowly changing where they're starting to implement security in the